All right, top of the morning, top of the evening, top of the night, whatever time zone you are on, we are live. All right, top of the morning, top of the evening, top of the night, whatever time zone you are on, we are live. All right, top of the morning, top of the evening, top of the night. Okay. A moment of silence for all those who have lost their lives. Okay. Let's remember this. If we can look up, we can get up. If we can get up, we can go up. With that being said, let's get started. You see the title? Let me make sure I'm typing something in the chat. That's advantageous. We're going to switch it up. Yesterday, I said I would show, before I get to the music, yesterday I said I would show the Senate vote. And so we know what the vote was, okay? A vote to codify Roe v. versus Wade, which did not pass the Senate. It should have, but Joe Manchin, who claims he's a moderate Democrat, but normally votes along the GOP Grand Old Party lines, was the holdup. So we have to pay attention to laws, okay? So we know that. Now, from there, we are going to get off into who polices the police. That's going to be always. And then we're going to look at these RICO charges. Again, we've got to pay attention to laws. We have to pay attention to, it is advantageous if we pay attention to cases and the way cases are litigated in the court of law in the United States of America. Because you have precedents being set when it comes to certain cases in various states. So we're going to get there. Now, having said that, let me let's get off into this music. All right. Let me refresh this so we can catch up in real time. Okay. Um, Before we go off into this RICO case, let me go ahead and let me turn this down on this device. I have my device in the background that's still turned up right by the speaker. And so if you hear the echo, it's because my third uh, electronic device, my other outside electronic device is turned up. I just turned him down so you won't hear the echoing. Let's talk about Georgia, since let's talk about law. Let's talk about who polices the police. Let's talk about the system. That's why we have to actively stay engaged. In disclaimer, this content is not for minors. Viewers' discretion is advised, even though it is informative. Okay. And these are things minors in America may or may not see in their daily lives. Georgia, let's talk about, before we go into the RICO pertaining to trap rapper, Young Thug, Gunna, and approximately 26 other alleged gang members who will be charged in the state of Georgia. Let's get to this really quick pertaining to the state of Georgia. Let me do the share on this. And this is going to be police, the remnant of the police department who are unethical, who have no integrity, who think they are above the law, who are complicit, doing what they do. Now, I'm going to share the traffic stop. Wait till it's low. Is a no. And you find out that everything that the sheriff said is opposite of what's taking place in the traffic stop. Okay, here we go. Let me stroll down so we can be ready to go. All right. So let me share again. Now I'm ready to share. Right here. Here it is. This is it. You would be University, that's university students' publication, the Hornet newspaper, and its websites, hometownonline.com. The incident was first detailed there in okay. So check my sound in the back of this because for some odd reason. Okay. Check my sound. It had went out on it seemed like it was out on my end, but okay, here we are. Anyway, traveling through Georgia, I-95, Savannah, Georgia, the university bus was stopped, and you can see police officers not having probable cause to search the bus pertaining to Georgia law, searching the buses, saying, I know they got weed, and you can hear the officers talking on the side. And like as mentioned previously, I will, when I edit this, drop the link in the description below so people can go directly. I will drop more than one link. I will drop two. I will drop a link coming from the news article where you can see the video footage and read the article. And I will drop a YouTube link after this is over so you can see what happened in April as it pertains to police officers in Georgia sitting up there racially profiling a bus of students from a historically Black university. Okay. And so the sheriff said when he viewed the body cam and when he viewed, that he didn't find any wrongdoing from the officers, which was a flat out lie because nothing that the sheriff said coincides with what the officers were doing and should have been doing. Everything that the students on the bus said coincided with what was shown on a body cam. Okay. So again, Georgia. Here we go. We got Georgia. Now, Georgia law is interesting. I'm from Michigan, so our state laws are different. And you have that, and then you have the Young Thug, Gunny, and roughly, allegedly, 28 gang members hit with a RICO. Okay, indictments. You have that. Now I want to read that. I'm not even going to attempt to show it here because I didn't add it. I'm going to read it directly from this third party. And the prosecutor is African American female. Chiefs, other prosecutors are Black. Okay. And we will get to that footage tonight of them being in court yesterday, or his bond hearings from yesterday as it pertains to Mr. Williams, who is known as AKA a rapper Young Thug, being charged with RICO. Okay. And so it is imperative that we listen because, again, as mentioned previously, last year we saw artist Robert Sylvester Kelly go through RICO. All right. Get hit with RICO, charged as an enterprise all by himself, which is impossible. All right. And I made my statements as it pertained to that the judge really should not have been presiding over the case. And she made a lot of missteps, period. And oftentimes, unfortunately, in the United States judicial system, we expect for judges to have integrity. We expect for them to have some type of ethics about themselves. We expect for them to be impartial and non-biased, but it does not always happen. And if anybody thinks it does in 2022, you are living in fairy tale land. Implicit bias and just flat out bias, as well as racism, still exists in the United States of America, period. Yeah. So let me pull up this article. CNN article, Young Thug and Gunny. I'm going to read it from CNN. Because they have links, and I'll link this CNN article when I update this too. Also, when I update this, I'm going to link the prosecutor's video footage when they brought the charges, okay, when they were reading the indictments. All right. So here it is. Grammy-winning rapper Young Thug lyrics are being cited as evidence in a sweeping 56-count gang indictment. Again, raising a debate over whether lyrics are protected free speech. According to the 88-page indictment obtained by CNN, lyrics from the rapper's popular songs, including Slime, S-H-I-T, Original, Slime, S-H-I-T, and Anybody, were used as examples to overt acts, some of which constitute racketeering. Prosecutors allege that Young Thug, real name Jeffrey Williams, founded the gang Young Slime Life in late 2012 and was a key figure in various YSL, that's Young Slime Life, activities. Again, key word there, alleged. It's an allegation. Allegations are not facts. We know that. Former Johnny Cochran, one of the greatest attorneys in the United States of America, laid that to rest when that OJ was on trial. And he made it very plain in all his other cases, allegations, conspiracies, theories, opinions are not facts. So this is what they are alleging, okay? They have to proof up their case. And it's one thing that good attorneys of past taught America that I think America need to go back and revisit and pay attention to. And that is these prosecutors, you make them proof up their case and bring the evidence for what they say. Evidence that's not tampered with. Let me pull that back. Evidence that is not tampered with. Selah, pause and think about it. Not just any type of evidence. Evidence that has not been contaminated or tampered with a valid, fluid, extremely descriptive chain of custody without the chain of custody being broken. All right. Okay. So continuing to read, again, I'm reading this article from CNN that I will post after the live is complete, as well as additional video footages for you to go back, view for yourself, read for yourself. The reason I'm reading from CNN article is because they have different links of the indictment. And so once you tap on that CNN article, pull it up, you will be able to tap on the 56 count gang indictment and read it for yourself. Okay. So continuing on, rapper Gunna, real name Sergio Giovanna Kitchens, is also in the document. It also charged in the document. Williams was arrested at his home in Atlanta on Monday, police said. Most notably, prosecutors said that in 2015, Williams rented an Infiniti Q50 sedan from Hertz, which was later used in the murder of a rival gang member. There were also references that paint Williams as the leader of SYL gang, as two associates discuss how to obtain his permission to attempt to murder rapper NFN Lucci while he was incarcerated. Okay, so again, their indictment goes back to 2012, and it's a Georgia law. Like I said, they have their own RICO statute. Let me make it plain. RICO was a statute. It's considered a statute, technically, if we want to be real specific about it. Where we'll get to it. We will get to it. Let me continue to read. Lyrics from another popular rapper's referencing ties to Young Slime life are also quoted in the indictment, along with social media posts. Williams have been booked into Fulton County Jail and charged with conspiracy to violate the Racketeer Influence and Corrupt Organization Act and participation in criminal street gang activity. So this is what they're charging. This isn't the first time song lyrics have been used by criminal prosecutors. In 2019, prosecutors questioned Brooklyn rapper Tekashi 6ix9ine about lyrics for his song Gomo, asking if it included threats to rivals. In 2017, prosecutors tried to use Draco the Ruler Flex freestyle as evidence that he conspired to murder another rapper. Not everyone supports allowing prosecutors to use lyrics as evidence in rap on Trial. Lyrics and Guilt in America by Eric Nelson, Andrea L. Dennis. Rapper Killer Mike argues that rap as an art form is a safe space where raw emotions can and should be expressed. Left unchecked, it has the potential to silence a generation of artists who are exercising their First Amendment right to express themselves, he wrote. These are voices that we should be encouraging, yet our criminal justice system has consistently looked for ways to punish them. Killer Mike also noted that other artists from genres other than rap often celebrated for their dark lyrics, while rappers are often celebrated for their dark lyrics, while rappers are vilified. Okay, last year in New York, state senators in New York introduced a bill, Rap Music on Trial, which would prevent art, including song lyrics, from being used as evidence in criminal cases. Jay-Z, Meek Mills, Big Sean, Kelly Rowland all supported the bill, as did many other musicians. But Fulton County District Attorney Fannie Willis sees it differently. And you will hear her say this in the video link below once this live stream is done and I edit. I believe the First Amendment right. I believe in the First Amendment. It is one of our most precious rights. However, the First Amendment does not protect people from prosecutors using lyrics as evidence if it is such. Willis said during the press conference Tuesday, in this case, we will put it as overt and predicate acts within the RICO count because we believe that's exactly what it is. All right. So that concludes the reading of that article. So yesterday, for those who watched yesterday's video, prosecutors better be very careful when attempting to bring charges, because I've seen this before. When prosecutors, and I need to show video footage from that case from years back when alleged gang members were hit with a RICO, and it was a few years back. And as a matter of fact, the news and some of the footage from the trial is still up on YouTube. Prosecutors were upset then because their attorneys came in and said, this is RICO, okay? You're hitting a group of gang members. You got a group of 28, and you're going to hit them with basically all the same charges. Okay, let's see how that's going to work out. Because when you're talking about RICO, and remember, for murder, there is no statutes of limitation. Okay, we understand that. All right, as U.S. citizens, we should understand that. When it comes to murder, there is no statutes of limitation. So when part of the RICO indictment, what they have Young Thug with is murder. And I'm sure they're going to charge other ones with murder, but they're going to have to prove each charge per person. So you're bringing this indictment against a gang of 28, and for each gang member, you're going to have to prove up your case. You're going to have to prove that every last one of them committed those particular acts. So this is going to be really interesting. But the thing that people need to take note of is the way that they are going at the lyrics. Again, paraphernalia, lyrics, raps, just like songs, are supposed to be protected under the United States Constitution. as freedom of speech. So again, my personal perspective of this prosecutor is she was a little bit, she was a little bit cocky when she stood up there and said what she said from my perspective. And she said, I'm not attempting to overreach. This is what I ran on. And ever since I got elected, this is what I've been doing. I've been going after gangs in Fulton County, so on and so forth. And I don't care if you are artist. I don't care if you're a rapper. You come to Fulton County, so on and so forth. Okay, again, I will link her below after this live is finished, and you can hear her for yourselves. And immediately, because I believe in who polices the police, and I don't believe in police receiving immunity, nor do I believe in prosecutors receiving immunity, I said to myself, if she was really serious about going after the gang, she would start after the gangs that's in the police department in Fulton County. Why don't she shake them down from the top to the bottom? The dope dealers, the gang members within the police department. Start there first. Start with what's supposed to be the highest authority and work your way down. That's when you can show me you serious. Because if you look at my community wall, unfortunately, the state of Illinois is always used, but you see the study from this year. Allegedly, there's a crew of 160 gang members within the police department in Illinois, and it is not far-fetched to believe such. Okay, so I'm just saying. Okay. Yeah. So let's get to this court case from yesterday. Yeah, let's get here. Okay. And I'm going to give this a little bit to start the video over in the background. Now, go ahead and show this.
That's Mr. Steele's case. Mr. Steele,
So let me turn this up.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. How are you, sir?
Good. Always good to see you.
I feel the same, Your Honor. Always.
You doing okay?
I'll let you know.
Okay, thank you. I'm glad we were able to fit you in. Sorry you had to wait a minute. I appreciate your patience. Let me set up the case first. This is Position 20, case number 22CP208957, Jeffrey Williams. And I want to say good afternoon to you, Mr. Williams. I'm Judge Wolf. This is your felony first appearance. Good afternoon. We're doing this remotely because of COVID. You have the right to remain silent. You're presumed innocent, and you have the right to an attorney. Your lawyer, Mr. Steele, is on the call. So let me start with you, Mr. Steele. This is a first appearance. Do you want to be heard on probable cause or just bond?
We will be heard on
bond.
Okay. So let me.
So this was his bond.
Is this your case, Mr. Smith?
Yes, Judge.
And is this part of that same indicted case or something different?
That is correct. It is part of the indicted case, Judge.
Okay, if you could announce that first, and then we'll go from there.
Yes, Judge. So these charges, these warrants stem from indictment number 22 SC 182273 as well, Your Honor. Would you like me to go ahead and proceed with my position on bond as well, Judge, or?
Yes, please.
Okay. So it's the state's position that
So this is the state.
giving Mr. Williams access to resources, and given that we're still in the process of apprehending everyone on that larger indictment, Your Honor, it's the state's position that he is a flight risk, as well as there's a clear risk to hinder the administrations of justice. Your Honor, officers executed a search warrant at the home of Mr. Williams. They recovered large quantity of drugs, several firearms, one of which including a automatic switch, making it a fully automatic machine gun. And given the nature of these allegations of bond, Your Honor, we would respectfully request that you deny bond.
And I just want to understand, Mr. Smith, you're saying that Mr. Steele's client, Mr. Williams, he was indicted on that same 22 SC 182273 or not?
That is correct, Your Honor.
Okay. And I thought that it was the state's position per the delegation order from Judge Brasher that this court, me being a magistrate court judge, that I don't have authority to consider bond. Is that the case, or are you saying that I do?
And just to clarify, Your Honor, with that indictment, that was a direct indictment. These are additional warrants that were taken out stemming from that particular indictment. Whether or not these new warrants will become a part of that indictment, a decision has not been made as of yet.
Got it. But they're within the four corners of indictment 22 SC 182273. These warrants are not part of that indictment.
That is correct, Your Honor.
It would require a re-indictment if the state chose to do so.
That is correct.
Okay, so you do agree that these charges, that's Mr. Steele's case? Mr. Steele, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Your
And this
Honor.
is the person
How are you, sir?
conducting the
Always good to see
audio
you.
in the background. This has nothing to do with me.
You doing okay?
I'll let you know.
Okay, thank you. I'm glad we were able to fit you in. Sorry you had to wait a minute. I appreciate your patience. Let me set up the case first. This is position
Mr.
20,
Steele is Young
case
Thug's
number 22
attorney,
208957,
as well as
Jeffrey Williams.
others.
And I want to say good afternoon to you, Mr. Williams. I'm Judge Wolf. This is your felony for interference. Good afternoon. We're doing this remotely because of COVID. You have the right to remain silent. You're presumed innocent, and you have the right to an attorney. Your lawyer, Mr. Steele, is on the call. So let me start with you, Mr. Steele. This is a first appearance. Do you want to be heard on probable cause or just bond?
We will be heard on bond, Your Honor.
Okay. So let me ask, is this your case, Mr. Smith?
Yes, Judge.
And is this part of that same indicted case or something different?
That is correct. It is part of the indicted case, Judge.
Okay, if you could announce that first, and then we'll go from there.
Yes, Judge. So these charges, these warrants stem from indictment number 22 SC 182273 as well, Your Honor. Would you like me to go ahead and proceed with my position on bond as well, Judge, or?
Yes, please.
Okay. So it's the state's position that given Mr. Williams access to resources, and given that we're still in the process of apprehending everyone on that larger indictment, Your Honor, it's the state's position that he is a flight risk, as well as there's a clear risk to hinder the administrations of justice. Your Honor, officers executed a search warrant at the home of Mr. Williams. They recovered large quantity of drugs, several firearms, one of which including a automatic switch, making it a fully automatic machine gun. And given the nature of these allegations of bond, Your Honor, we would respectfully request that you deny bond.
And I just want to understand, Mr. Smith, you're saying that Mr. Steele's client, Mr. Williams, he was indicted on that same 22 SC 182273 or not?
That is correct, Your Honor.
Okay. And I thought that it was the state's position for the delegation order from Judge Brasher that this court, me being a magistrate court judge, that I don't have authority to consider bond. Is that the case, or are you saying that I do?
And just to clarify, Your Honor, with that indictment. That was a direct indictment. These are additional warrants that were taken out stemming from that particular indictment. Whether or not these new warrants will become a part of that indictment, a decision has not been made as of yet.
Got it. But they're within the four corners of indictment 22 SC 182273. These warrants are not part of that indictment.
That is correct, Your Honor.
It would require a re-indictment if the state chose to do so.
That is correct.
Okay, so you do agree that these charges, that's Mr. Steele's case? Mr. Steele, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. How are you, sir?
Good,
And
always
this
good to
is
see you.
them.
I feel the same, Your Honor. Always.
You doing okay?
I'll let you know.
Okay, thank you. I'm glad we were able to fit you in. Sorry you had to wait a minute. I appreciate your patience. Let me set up the case first. This is position 20, case number 22 CP 208957, Jeffrey Williams. And I want to say good afternoon.
They were having
Mr.
technical
Williams. I'm Judge Wolf.
difficulties.
This is your felony first appearance. Good afternoon. We're doing this remotely because of COVID. You have the
So
right
when
to
you
remain
hear it
silent.
stopping, it's because they're
You're
having
presumed
technical
innocent, and
difficulties
you
in the
have the right
background,
to
and I don't know
attorney.
who is
Your
over
lawyer,
the
Mr.
Zoom or whatever
Steele,
software
is
they're
on the
using.
call.
But
So let me start with you, Mr. Steele.
I
This
digress.
is a first appearance. Do you want to be heard on probable cause or just bond?
We will be heard on bond, Your Honor.
Okay. So let me ask, is this your case, Mr. Smith?
so they're
Yes.
having technical
And
difficulties.
is this part of that same
And
indicted case or something different?
It happens.
That is correct. It is part of the indictment.
But
case,
they-
Judge.
Okay, if you could announce that first.
They
and then
should-
we'll go from there.
Yes, Judge. So these charges.
They need to start backing
these
up.
warrants stem from indictment number 22 SC 182273.
Their streams
As well, Your Honor. Would you
So
like
they
me to go ahead and
can
proceed with my position on bond as well?
automatically
Or-
transfer over
Yes,
to
please.
another.
So it's the state's position that given Mr. Williams access to resources, and given that we're still in the
Okay, this is the
process of
replay.
apprehending him
Now-
on that larger indictment,
Let
Your
me-
Honor, it's the state's position that he is a
Let me
flight
stop
risk,
this. Let me hide
as
this.
well as there's a clear risk.
me hide this.
to
We already
any
heard
of the
this.
Administrations of justice, Your Honor. Officers executed a search.
So let me transition and catch us up to speed real quick. Okay, this one is just lagging all the way behind. Let me hit the live on that. All right. So he was denied bond because of the state's weak case, from my perspective, is that he has access to resources. So therefore, if he's a flight risk, then he's a clear risk because of the access to resources he has, including people. Okay, that he's therefore he's a risk, a clear risk, and a flight risk because of his access to resources. Okay, and so his attorney said, and again, they were having technical difficulties yesterday in court. His attorney says, well, hold on, when you start talking to the judge, and that's the part that it went out on a little bit, but I was able to hear it. So on another video from somewhere else that I had. So his attorney asked the judge, so he's being denied bond and he does not have any felony on his record. So hear me good. Young Thug has no felonies on his record at all. Okay, 0. He still was denied bond because the state said he was a clear risk and a flight risk because of his access to resources. And they made their claim that he could be mobile, move about, people would shelter him, so on and so forth. And his attorney said, wait a minute, he has no felonies. The other cases that the state kept bringing up, he said, wait a minute, in the other case that's been on your books for 4 years, the witness who was in the car, it was another party in the car with him during that time, said that that was their marijuanas, so on and so forth. This judge still denied his bond, and then it was a question of whether or not that this judge even have the authority to grant such bond to him as it pertains to case. Because remember, if you listen to the state, they said, well, okay, in addition to the indictment, there are additional warrants that are separate from this indictment. And so we don't think he should have bond because of that either. This particular judge, like I said, denied his bond. Okay. And his attorney was adamant. He said, wait a minute, no felonies on his record. He immediately surrendered his passport because he was flying back into the United States of America from another country. He immediately submitted his passport, surrendered his passport. His attorney was talking about him being able to bond out and maybe being on some type of tether, which is a tracking device. And so they came through and rebutted that, saying, no, he's a clear risk. He's a flight risk because he has access to all of these resources. So they came in with a preconceived notion that because he has access to so much resource, he's a risk. Oh, really? Okay. Because of his accessibility to resources, that makes him a risk. Okay. Let me say it again. Because of his accessibility to resources, the state's position is that makes Young Thug, Mr. Williams is his real last name, a risk. Okay. Flight risk and a clear risk. And then when it comes to them having a search warrant to go into his house, and I have not read the warrant and the scope of what was included in the warrant, because that can sink the prosecutor's goose too when it comes to warrant. And I think people need to realize that you can win a case on technicalities and cause prosecutors to lose their case on the technicalities. So I will look at the warrant and see what type of warrants were issued. Okay, we will look at that. Also, I'm hearing a bunch of constitutional rights issues in terms of lyrics, freedom of speech. Okay, that's one. So his attorney, to me, when I heard his attorney speak, I said, the way he's speaking, he's setting this up to already appeal, to take this to a higher court, to turn around and sue for them if it turns out to be such, violating his constitutional rights. The way I was listening to what the attorney was saying, the way I was reading it. So another issue that I had is when the state said, okay, we got a warrant. We retrieved these guns. Okay. Well, that goes back to the constitutional, the Second Amendment, a right to bear arms. So you went to this person's home and you retrieved these guns. But legally, in the United States of America, Young Thug, Mr. Williams, has a right to bear arms. He's not a felon. He's not a felon. He doesn't have any felonies on his record. Period. And according to the Constitution, he has a right to bear arms legally. So when I was listening, I heard that as an issue too. Hey, Cha-Cha. So I'm hearing all type of issues or things that will be brought up in court, I know for sure, and things that are problematic from my perspective. So you got prosecutors indicting him in part on lyrics and social media posts, and also going to his home and retrieving guns. And they said guns and drugs. Okay. What type of drugs? And so I know they recovered some, or they collected some weed. I'm not going to say recover because they're not recovering anything. I know they collected some weed. But federally in the United States of America, U.S. citizens can legally and freely smoke weed. So that becomes problematic. Again, First Amendment right, freedom of speech, problematic from the prosecutor's perspective, in my opinion, at present. At present. Second Amendment, right to bear arms, at present, problematic from prosecutor's perspective, in my opinion, as it stands to date. And we will see where the evidence that has not been contaminated with or tampered with leads. That's always my stance. Also problematic. is I just see a lot of things that are problematic from the prosecutor's standpoint when you hit somebody with a RICO. And the reason they went with the RICO is because it's a broader scope. Okay? It's a broader scope. And again, in terms of RICO, you have to consider Georgia law because this is the state of Georgia. So you have to factor in Georgia law. That's the key factor is Georgia law. All right. But I'm hearing things that are extremely problematic coming from the prosecutor's perspective. And a clear flight risk because they have access to resources is not a valid argument from my perspective. Because what the prosecutors are assuming is someone's going to house them or may house them or shelter them. Well, you can't say that. You are not in every human being's brain or mind. So that's problematic to me. One brain is not thinking for two people at present. Even though one brain does think for many people. And I'll leave that alone. And we're going to visit that when we get to the insurrection and the attempted coup with the host of evidence that is there. And I am waiting for that trial. I'm ready for that hearing. Okay. Those senators today who received subpoenas to bring elected officials come on as it relates to that. Now going back to this. So I'm hearing some things that are extremely problematic. The firearms, the lyrics for them being artists or him specifically being artists as well as the other one. It seems like the prosecutors may be overreaching, and she's a Black female, but when I heard her, there, I said, when she talked about, I don't like to overreach, so I told them to, scale it back. And I was thinking, yeah, this is a little bit dialed up. You're going to run into some issues when you start bringing RICO charges against artists because of lyrics. You're going to run into some issues, and a lot of them. Yeah. You're going to run into a lot of issues. And then, like I said, the warrant was issued. They raided his home. They collected guns. Well, he's not a felon, so legally he can have a gun. Another issue they're going to run into is in the state of Georgia. Georgia passed a state law a few weeks ago where you don't have to be licensed to carry, to bear arms. Let me pull that back again. Georgia passed a state law a few weeks ago where you don't have to be licensed to bear arms. Now we're going to look at the age, and we're going to look at what type of guns are they talking about, because technically everybody know you can have a rifle. Okay, something that's considered a rifle. So it's some things that's going to be, and this attorney, he's going to bring it up. And another thing that the state went on to say that they had issue with, and it related to the attorney, Mr. Steele. And they said they foresaw a conflict of interest. And again, they were having technical difficulties that day, but I was able to still hear it somewhere else in another video, is that Mr. Steele was representing more than one of the alleged gang members that's been charged in the state of Georgia. He's representing more than just Young Thug in this RICO case. And they said they probably see a conflict. This is what the state was saying. They could see some type of conflict of interest. And I'm saying to myself, I don't care if he represented all of them. They all being charged and indicted for the same thing. Why couldn't he represent them? So I'm waiting to hear what the state valid reason was in terms of there being a conflict of interest, because you have one attorney representing more than one of those alleged gang members who have been charged with RICO. I'm waiting to hear what the valid rationale and reasoning is behind that. Okay, if they all hired him to represent them, they have a right to do so. Because according to the United States Constitution, you have a right to counsel, to legal counsel. Okay. To be represented in a court of law by an attorney. So those are just some of the things that that off the back I'm hearing that's been problematic. And again, allegedly is 28 alleged gang members, and we will see. And allegedly in 2012, Young Thug allegedly started this gang, and allegedly in 2015, the vehicle that he rented was used to murder someone. Someone was murdered. The vehicle allegedly was driven, and all of these are allegations at this point. Again, we always have to follow the untampered with evidence that has not been contaminated. We will follow where the evidence leads. Just because they come out and allege something does not make it true, and it does not make it so. So right off the bat, just some things that are problematic. They've both been denied bond, and I could foresee the other 26 being denied bond, and we will see how this goes. Because Mr. Steele, which is representing Young Thug and some others, made some extremely valid points. And then it's being alleged that some of the gang members shot up Lil Wayne's bus. So this is going to get interesting, and we'll see if the rapper Lil Wayne has to show up in court and testify in this RICO case. Oh, it's going to get interesting. It already is. Now, I want to, excuse me, everyone. I want to go back to what an attorney who litigate and specialize in RICO cases and constitutional law was saying. When this first hit. And so it's been many different attorneys on YouTube and doing interviews with news stations, giving a perspective on this right here. But it is one who just kind of, excuse me, everybody. I need to stretch this out. Stretch my knee out. Hits the nail on the head to me. And this is the little foot that's been going through everything. And this is my side note. Pulled out the drawer yesterday, came off the track, fell on my foot. Outside moving things around in the garage. Stubbed my foot on, it's just been stuff going on with this foot right here, but it has been well soaked. So that was my side note. I have been outside running around for the last few days. It'll be interesting to see tomorrow if I will have to sweep the driveway again because of leaves and flour blowing into the yard. Now, leaving my side note, getting back on topic. Let's go back to, make sure. Okay, it's hitting. What this attorney said a few days ago when he was listening to the charges being brought by the prosecutors. And again, for me, I could see some things right off the back that's going to be problematic. One of the things is you're trying to charge an artist for lyrics. Now, if the artist lyrics are true and you have evidence to substantiate that claim, then okay. But that's a sticky situation when you say, okay, that just goes into a sticky situation. In the past, have some rappers done what they said in the lyrics? After the fact, yeah, or whatever. But in this case, his attorney is like, no. Like, okay, you reaching here. Y'all reaching, and I'm ready to go. We're going to do what we got to do in court. We're going to do what we have to do in court. And his attorney was extremely adamant when he was questioning the judge. He said, okay, you denying my client bond because of what? Okay. And then he came at the judge again like XYZ, split rate vib. He does not have any felonies, this, and this. When you're talking about that prior case from 4 years ago that's still been on the books, a witness already said XYZ. So, let's get to this video that this attorney, where this attorney, and I played it yesterday, is talking about when you start going after artists and rappers for lyrics, you got to be really careful because you are stepping into violating their constitutional rights, First Amendment rights, freedom of speech. So you have to be really careful. And then again, like I said, some other things are problematic to me is they said we recovered all these guns at his home. Well, legally, he has a right to bear arms. And Georgia, you don't have to be licensed to carry anymore. That law passed a couple of weeks ago in the state of Georgia. So we're going to see how this pans out.
Yes, there are many First Amendment issues here. Georgia law, though, does allow prosecutors to charge someone both with racketeering as well as participation in a criminal street gang if those organizations are committing crimes under Georgia law, and if these folks are organized in a way that they are working together in some capacity. So prosecutors will often point to things like using gang signs, things that are meant to communicate messages to other potential gang members, recruiting other people to join a gang. It's very problematic from a First Amendment standpoint because that kind of communication, and it can be communication in words, it can be lyrics in a song, it can be on social media, it can be the clothes that they wear. That is all protected under the First Amendment. So I've not seen a successful challenge to these Georgia laws that allow that kind of evidence to be used as evidence of a crime in a criminal trial, but I do think that's going to be problematic for the state. Start out with the basics. RICO stands for Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations. It started out as a federal law that was targeting the mafia. But many states, I think most states, if not all states around the country, have adopted their own state RICO laws with the same idea. Initially, it was focused on organized crime, but the law itself only requires the state to prove that some group of people are committing a pattern of other crimes under the RICO law. And that can include simple stuff like theft or murder or drugs or prostitution. As long as you can show a pattern of 2 or more crimes committed by this group of people that are organized together, you have a potential RICO case. The penalties, mandatory minimum of 5 years in prison, up to 20 years in prison for the RICO charge alone. And then, of course, there are these other charges that are out there. I think specifically with Young Thug, he's looking at the RICO charge, a conspiracy to commit RICO charge, as well as participation in a criminal street gang. Same kind of punishment for that offense, 5 years up to 20 years. This is a very aggressive move by Fulton County prosecutors. I know that they have been trying to develop an incentive, an initiative to go after street gangs, both in the Atlanta area and beyond. But I think here they may have gone a step too far because they're charging these individuals with criminal activity, crimes under Georgia law, which really may be limited to just things they've said, either on social media or in song lyrics. And ultimately, I think that's going to be a problem. The jury is going to want to see evidence that these individuals, each one of these individuals, actually committed some sort of crime separate from just being a part of this organization. So you can be tied up with other folks. You can be a member of a gang and still not be held criminally responsible for what some other gang member may do unless you're aware that that's going on. So I think that's going to be kind of hard to prove in this case. They've got to show intent and they have to show
Thank you. Come on, attorney.
Not just being a part of a group. It's got to be more than that. Yes, there are many First Amendment issues here. Georgia law, though, does allow prosecutors to charge someone both with racketeering as well
I'm letting
as
it replay
participation in a criminal street gang if those organizations are committing crimes under Georgia law, and if these folks are organized
so this is playing
in a
again
way
second
that
time.
They are working together in some capacity. So prosecutors will often point to things like using gang signs, things that are meant to communicate messages to other potential gang members, recruiting other people to join a gang. It's very problematic from a First Amendment standpoint because that kind of communication, and it can be communication in words, it can be lyrics in a song, it can be on social media, it can be the clothes that they wear. That is all protected under the First Amendment. So I've not seen a successful challenge to these Georgia laws that allow that kind of evidence to be used as evidence of a crime in a criminal trial, but I do think that's going to be problematic for the state. Start out with the basics. RICO stands for Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations. It started out as a federal law that was targeting the mafia. But many states, I think most states, if not all states around the country, have adopted their own state RICO laws with the same idea. Initially, it was focused on organized crime, but the law itself only requires the state to prove that some group of people are committing a pattern of other crimes under the RICO law. And that can include simple stuff like theft or murder or drugs or prostitution. As long as you can show a pattern of 2 or more crimes committed by this group of people that are organized together, you have a potential RICO case. The penalties, mandatory minimum of 5 years in prison, up to 20 years in prison for the RICO charge alone. And then, of course, there are these other charges that are out there. I think specifically with Young Thug, he's looking at the RICO charge, a conspiracy to commit RICO charge, as well as participation in a criminal street gang. Same kind of punishment for that offense, 5 years up to 20 years. This is a very aggressive move by Fulton County prosecutors. I know that they have been trying to develop an incentive, an initiative to go after street gangs, both in the Atlanta area and beyond. But I think here they may have gone a step too far because they're charging these individuals with criminal activity, crimes under Georgia law, which really may be limited to just things they've said, either on social media or in song lyrics. And ultimately, I think that's going to be a problem. The jury is going to want to see evidence that these individuals, each one of these individuals, actually committed some sort of crime separate from just being a part of this organization. So you can be tied up with other folks. You can be a member of a gang and still not be held criminally responsible for what some other gang member may do unless you're aware that that's going on. So I think that's going to be kind of hard to prove in this case. They've got to show intent and they have to show knowledge. It's not just being a part of a group. It's got to be more than that. Yes, there are many First Amendment issues here. Georgia law.
All right. So we heard him say it again. They have to show intent and they have to show knowledge. And they can be on people's social media pages retrieving ESI, electronically stored information, and they should have a warrant for that too. So the chain of custody for that definitely needs to be seen, as that is my area of in my educational background. So it's a lot of things that's problematic. Again, an attorney came out and said prosecutors came out and said she didn't think she was overreaching. And I have to concur with the attorney. It's going to be extremely problematic when you start violating people's constitutional rights and amendment rights, free speech, to bear arms. He doesn't have any felonies. And I'm talking specifically about Young Thug. We will see what the rest of the 27, because it's 28 alleged gang members, what happens, going to people getting their social media posts just because they said XYZ, you're going to have to prove, like he said, you're going to have to prove each charge. 56, okay? 56 indictments. You're going to have to prove each account. They're going to have to prove every one for whatever they are charging the group with. They're going to have to, because it's allegedly supposed to be a group of 28. They are going to have to prove each charge for all 28 members. And you have to prove the intent for all 28. and they're going individually, and you're going to have to prove they had knowledge for 28. So, and just because they said something on their social media post does not mean that they committed or have even participated in such acts. So again, I heard people sit up and say, oh, it was 88, roughly around 88 plus pages. Oh my goodness, they went back to XYZ, where they're going to have to prove that. You can fill a paper up with fluff and stuff, and prosecutors are notorious for doing that. Let me say it again, some prosecutors are notorious for paper wasting. Therefore, here we believe you better be able to prove your claim. You better be able to prove it. Proof up your case. Proof up your warrant. Prove it. Prove it. They're going to have to prove. Now, and I was sitting back thinking about it. I said, on some of these days, when they probably try to tie Young Thug or some of these other rappers like Gunna to certain locations, I said, I can guarantee you on some of these instances they probably bring up in court, they were probably out the country. Because remember, these are Young Thug is an international artist. Okay, he was just coming back from out the country. Where was he? Like in Australia or somewhere like that, performing, doing a show. So here we go again. That's why it's in the title. Here we go again. Another RICO, another artist, Black artist, charged with RICO. Some more Black artists charged with RICO. So we're going to see how this goes. They're going to have to prove, because other attorneys kept saying murder. They got that murder under Young Thug's name. Well, they're going to have to prove that Young Thug murdered somebody or ordered the murdering of such a person, and he had knowledge, and the intent was there, and the evidence has to be there. They have to have the proof that's untampered with and uncontaminated. So again, Georgia, here we go again, Georgia. When it comes to police departments, and again, the female prosecutor, who's Black, set up and said she campaigned on taking down gangs, going after gangs. And I said, isn't that interesting? Really? So you're keeping your campaign promise, but you didn't start with the police department in Fulton County. Let me pull that back. This female prosecutor in Fulton County, she's Black. She campaigned on going after gangs in that particular county. That was part of her campaign promise or whatever, according to her words. And I said to myself, but she didn't start within the police department in Fulton County. She didn't start within the police departments. Police departments in the United States of America, some police departments in the United States of America, and it has been proven, are known to have some of the largest gangs, most notorious gangs in the United States of America. But she wants to start going after gangs. See, my perspective, because I believe in who polices the police, is okay. When prosecutors come out and say, we're going after gangs, and they don't start with the police department, I'm going to look at you a certain way. And I'm going to say, you may be serious to an extent or a degree. Because if you were really serious to the highest degree or extent, you're going to start within the police departments and shake that mess down, while simultaneously going after the street gangs. The other type of street gangs. Let me say it that way. The other type of street gangs. Hear me good. For prosecutors, I don't care if you black, white, pink, purple, polka dot, striped, zebra print, tiger, cheetah, whatever. When you come out and say you campaigned on going after gangs and you don't start within the police department where we know they have gangs, I question the validity of how serious that particular prosecutors or those particular prosecutors are. Period. And I don't care who it is. Also, someone was bringing up a good point when I was talking to him the other day. Keisha Lance Bottom was the mayor in that county, and remember, she resigned. And so in my mind, I'm, the person that I was conversing with, we were thinking, is this part of the reason she resigned is because Keisha Lance Bottom knew that this was coming down the line? Is this part of the reason she resigned? Because this is going to, this is already a sticky situation. And Gunny, the trap rapper Gunny, and I'm not saying his full name, Young Gunny, whatever they call him, he's known in the community as being a contribution to schools, grocery stores, and being a productive contributor to the community. So this is going to be really interesting. This is going to be interesting. And also when it hits that point that allegedly people from this gang shot up Lil Wayne's bus. This going to be interesting. But we will see what happens with this RICO. Also, I'm wanting to know Matthew Gates, who is an elected official. I'm waiting for him to have his day in court and his passport to be taken. I want him to surrender his passport because the defendants in his case, one of them already took plea. One of them already plead out. The witnesses that was with him participating in that particular RICO. And I'm not going to allege that one of them already pled because I know for a fact that they did. It's on record. And the other one, the female, they're already on record. And so we still have this elected official. I want him to come to court. Can we accost him and detain him? And why is he bond? Why is he out and free? Oh, probably bonded out, right? Because he got to do his job. That's another good point that Mr. Steele, who is representing Young Thug attorneys, brought up. My client gets paid for doing shows. And he said he just flew back in from overseas, Australia, having done a show. My client has a livelihood. He's an artist. He's an entertainer. That's the way he gets paid. He has to travel around. You have to allow him to travel around to be paid. He has to get paid. He has to show up to these particular shows. And then his attorney also went on to say, and again, they were having technical difficulties, so you didn't get to hear certain parts in the video that I played when he was in court talking, said, listen, he's already booked up for certain venues in advance. So that's going to be a problem because they sign contracts, and who's going to incur the cost for breach of contract? If the artist breach the contracts because they're sitting behind the bars, or I mean, what's going to happen? Some venues will be lenient, they understand, so on and so forth, but still the contract is breached. But his attorney made a good point. Hold up, he's an artist. He has to travel around. He already have shows and stuff booked. This is his income, his livelihood. This is how he gets paid. We already have venues booked. We've already signed these contracts. And for prosecutors to come out, for her to come out and say, his lyrics, yes, I'm going after the lyrics. And then if I find out, that he committed those, if he did those acts, that's in the lyrics, yes, I'm going after that. I'm going after social media posts. Yes, if they posted this and they committed that act, then I'm going after that. And then again, the attorney just got finished saying, this is going to be problematic. If I was a prosecutor and I had to bring some charges, my evidence would be solid. I'm not going to have to guess, wonder, or think. I'm going to already know. And I'm going to let the record show. I'm going to have my proof on lock, untampered with, and not contaminated. But we'll see. Again, allegations, conspiracy theories, opinions, and speculations are not facts, nor are they proof. So, having said that, we have so many cases to look at. Botham Jean this upcoming weekend on television series, they're doing a special on Botham Jean and Amber Geyer. So who polices the police? They're going to revisit that. It's happening this weekend. So that's going to be on some television station. I don't know which one because I don't watch TV. So I don't know. I just know it's airing. We also have the police in Georgia profiling a historically Black university's bus with a group of female college students, and the sheriff saying they were well within their right to do so. But then you look at the evidence from the body cams, and they were not well within their rights as police officers for doing so. They were profiled. Okay, and then we have other officers who have shot U.S. citizens and illegally. It's been a lot of cases that I've been looking at. Trust and believe. I usually I go back and I view some of them. It's just a lot going on, and let's make sure we're paying attention to our elections, our statewide elections this year, our citywide elections, because voting always mattered. It still matters. If you don't like the candidates you see, then you be the change you want to see. You be the person. You be the man. You be the woman to run for that particular office. We see what's going on with Roe versus Wade. We see what Supreme Court justices, again, lying justices who will lie, steal, and cheat to get into these offices, and then they had no intention on keeping their words. So I want to know, is Clarence Thomas, Kavanaugh, Burnett, are they going to be impeached? Bring the articles of impeachment forth for them. Now, some people thought I was far-fetched when I was saying it, but then you had other attorneys, federal attorneys, Department of Justice heads like Eric Holder and others running around saying the same thing now. bringing articles of impeachment. Let's get them out of there. They lied under oath. It is what it is. It's on record. Period. Now, having said that, thank you so much for streaming. I'm going to get off here and update this and drop all the different article links in the bottom in the description below. You will see the article from CNN. When you go to the CNN article, you will be able to go directly from there and see Young Thugs, who is, his last name is Waynes, Mr. Waynes, as well as the other indictments. So you will be able to read through that. Prosecutors in the offices that brought the charges, prosecutor office, the DA's offices that brought the charges. I'm going to link that video, and I will make sure those videos are linked below, as well as the video to the officers profiling the bus last month of Black historical students attending a Black historic university. Now, having said that, everybody, we need to make sure we stay vigilant. We need to make sure we stay actively engaged, and we need to make sure that our feet is touching the ground. All right, everybody. Have a pleasant evening and a pleasant night. Thanks so much for streaming. Bye-bye, everybody.